What's up, my friend? Abby here, and welcome back to Ask Abby, where I answer your writing questions and help you make your story matter. I wish I could give you guys a writing update and tell you everything that I've been working on lately, mostly in the publishing realm of things, but unfortunately I can't because I have not made my official announcement yet of what I'm publishing next. It's still top secret, and I'm so excited to share it with you. But not yet. October 1st is when I'm making that announcement, so mark your calendars and keep an eye on my channel. Until then, I've been working on some other writing projects that are super exciting. I'm writing a series with my sister, who is also an amazing author, and she's coming out with a new book very soon. You should check that out right here. And I've also been working on some just fun projects on the side, plus revising my last novel that I wrote. Comment below and tell me your writing update. What are you working on at the moment? I would love to hear all about it. And without further ado, let's get into today's questions. Why does your story matter? Good question. What if I told you that there's a science behind every great story? I don't just teach you how to write. I teach you how to change the world with your story and make your author dreams come true. In case you're new around here and you don't know how this works, here's the deal. You post your questions, submit them to the show, and I show up here on YouTube every month to answer a few of those questions. And you can submit questions to the show two ways. The first way is to hit the join button below this video. Get on the community, on the inside of the community on my YouTube channel, post a question in that community tab. You will see the post there specifically for Ask Abby. The second way to submit questions is to go to patreon.com/Abbie Emmons, get inside the inner circle group and post your question in a comment there in the group, but make sure you hashtag it Ask Abby there so that I see it, okay? Now, let's get to today's questions. The first question comes from Catherine. Just saw the podcast about a home writing retreat. Can you elaborate on the 23 to 25 minutes to get back into focus after an interruption? Thinking from the point of view of basically a stay-at-home mom, my situation's not exactly that, but functionally it's identical. My question is if you have any tips on how to minimize the impact of both unplanned interruptions like going to the bathroom or kids talking to you, and expected things like feeding people and cleaning the house. When possible, you group tasks into blocks, but is there anything that you can do brain science-wise while we're tasking or when we first sit back down to minimize the impact of the interruption? That is a really good question. I found that a super fascinating fact when I stumbled upon that in an article years ago, that it takes your brain about 25 minutes or 23 minutes and change to refocus completely back to that state of concentration that you were in before you were interrupted. But I do believe that there are ways that we can minimize that, ways that we can more quickly focus or refocus on the task at hand. So I work from home, and I usually work in a very central location in my house, which is my dining room. So there's a lot of things happening around me all day long. If I'm writing all day long, which is an amazing day, if I get a dedicated writing day or a few dedicated writing days throughout the week, there will still be interruptions. There will be people asking me questions, obligations that pop up that I forgot about. A few things that have helped me to minimize that distracted, unfocused feeling. The first thing would be to create a trigger so that you can more easily get refocused after you've been interrupted. And usually that happens before you get interrupted, so I'm thinking of like the moment of the interruption. Okay, this happens to me a lot. I'll be like mid-sentence or mid-scene, and I have like the next thought kind of queued up in my mind, but then someone walks up to me and starts talking to me or asks me a question, and I have to either immediately depart from what my thought was, or I have to quickly write down a few words or even just a line or a sentence that will help me to remember what my next thought was going to be. So this could be a bullet point list. It could be just a couple words. It could be, I might have to just be like, hold on a second while I finish writing this line to myself. Or if you're not writing, if you're just working on some other things that are maybe related to your career or your job and you're working from home, that you could do the same thing in creating a trigger, opening up the next task on your list, or whatever the next step was to the task you were working on. Let's say you have to make a graphic for a blog post and someone walks up to you and you're getting interrupted now. Maybe open a new tab with your graphic designing software so that when the interruption is over, you look back down to your computer, oh, I was working on that, and you flow right into the next step. Versus, what was I working on? I can't remember what I was going to do next. Go to your calendar, go to some other page, get distracted. That can be avoided because you created like the next logical step. You sort of set up your next step before you got to it, if that makes sense. And then after you get interrupted, if you're still finding it hard to get back into the zone, another thing that has helped me is to create sort of a mental bubble. And by that, I mean leaving everything outside of your mental bubble, including whatever distracted you, whatever conversation you just had, whatever little frustrating annoyance you just had to deal with. Or maybe it wasn't annoying, maybe it was just neutral, maybe it was positive even. Maybe you heard some good news from someone. Try not to even think about anything that just happened. And leave it all behind you. Leave it all outside the bubble, especially if you're writing and you're like in the zone with these characters in this scene. And some tools can help this. Noise canceling headphones is one of those tools. The music and the noise cancellation is my bubble. And so it's kind of a mental exercise. It's not really a physical thing you can create, but I find it extremely helpful for regaining concentration if you can learn the skill of just shutting everything out that does not matter to you at this moment. And I realize that that is easier said than done. So it definitely depends on your lifestyle and your situation and what's going on around you and what requires your attention. But try to be honest with yourself about what really requires my attention. I mean, you're doing something important. Your creative time is important. It's important to you. It's important to your career. So treat it seriously and treat it as sacred time. And that is something that we talked about a lot in that podcast about taking a writing retreat from home. So if this is something that you want to do, definitely check out that podcast that me and my sister did on that topic recently. I think you'll get a lot out of it. Next question is from Jack. Hi Abbie, I'm writing a fantasy series which is going to be 5 books long, following the same main points of view for the entire series. I'm currently at the editing stage of book 1 and I'm trying to hone in on the character arcs, etc., while also planning and thinking about the other installments in the series. My question is this: do my characters need an aha moment in every book, or can I allow this all to build up until near the end of the series, say in book 4, when their truths are realized and perhaps just have mini realizations in the previous books? Any advice would be great. Okay, for a 5-book series, you're definitely going to want each book to have its own, at least somewhat complete story arc. And by that, I don't mean that the characters have to come to their aha moment, ultimate realization at the end of each book. I would lean more towards having them be mini realizations, like you said, sort of an overarching theme for the whole series, probably, and then mini themes for each book. But there should be that thematic element there, because that's what's going to sustain you. That's what's going to matter to you, right? That's the thing behind the thing, your why. What's the big idea? And even if the big idea realization doesn't happen until like the crescendo climactic moment of the whole series, there should still be character change throughout the series in each book. I always stress the character change thing on this channel because without change, why does anything matter? If your characters are just going on a series of misadventures and things are happening to them and decisions are being made for them, then they aren't really active characters in their own story, and they're not actually making decisions that will change them. And not all change has to be positive either. So with 5 books, you have a lot of room to play with different types of character arcs. Maybe in book 1, you have your main character going on a journey, maybe learning some part of the truth or a truth, something that the theme that you want to weave into book 1. and leaving them off with a cliffhanger or something like that. And then maybe in book 2, they experience more of a negative character arc. Maybe they're left in a worse place at the end of book 2 than they were at the end of book 1. And then maybe book 3, they have a redemptive character arc. The possibilities are endless, so have fun with it. And as long as you always have internal conflict and a sense of where the story is going, and your characters are actively making decisions based on their internal conflict, in other words, everything is mattering to them and their story, I think you'll be surprised by how much that sustains story and gives this sense of life and energy and urgency to the story that pulls your audience in for the rest of the ride, no matter how long that ride is. Like I always say, it's all about making the audience care about the characters, and if you can do that, then you're good. Forever. Like, you can make this series go on forever. Right? I mean, I've seen so many series, both in book format and film and television, where the audience cares so much about these characters. They're obsessed. They would watch them forever, doing anything. As long as their internal conflict is always there, as long as they are always feeling like real people who are relatable, who are going on this journey, experiencing new things and learning new things and changing. That's where the magic is. Long story short, I would make each book have a theme and a character arc, even if it's not the ultimate theme for the whole series. Last question is from Chelsea. If my goal is to write a trilogy, do I need to have books 2 and 3 planned out before writing book 1? I have a sort of cliffhanger ending for book 1 planned, so there's a starting point for book 2, but I haven't really figured out what the plot or anything will be. I'm still in the outlining stage for the first book, but getting closer to drafting. You should have a sense of where this is going. And those can be vague ideas for now. I understand that not every writer likes to plan out everything ahead of time as far as outlining, even bullet point outlines. A lot of writers like to have the freedom and the breathing room to change their minds and change the story, but I think it is important to have a overall sense of the trajectory of the story. Where have the main characters' internal conflicts taken them in book 1? And where is that going to take them in book 2? Really, the first book is the hardest book to outline because you're setting up your genre and your tone and your thematic vision for the whole series. Just by asking yourself the right questions can be really helpful to get that idea, get the sense of where this is going without having to feel like you're painting yourself into a corner too much with outlining. And for me, those questions are mostly centered on, of course, internal conflict. What is the internal conflict I want my characters to be experiencing, maybe even in the future, maybe a slightly different conflict than what they're experiencing now. Another question would be the relationships between the characters throughout the course of the whole story. Do you want their relationships to change? And if so, how? And another really important question to ask yourself is what is going to sustain you throughout this 3-book series? Because 3 books is a lot, and you want to be excited for it. You want to be there, and you want it to matter personally to you. Like, it has to personally animate and excite you. You have to enjoy writing it. But that being said, I don't think that you absolutely need to outline books 2 and 3, but you should have a sense of where this is going. I love outlining, but I also change things a lot in my outlines before a lot of times I'll outline and then I'll go and change my outline because I've had new ideas and new inspiration and I want to write something different. And that's okay. I'm currently co-writing a series with my sister, and it's been a really interesting learning experience, a new experience for me. And although I've done some outlining as far as I've been putting together ideas for book 2, 3, 4, and onward, it has been a creatively freeing process because I'm not worrying too much about future books. Book 1 is the most important book to get right out of your series because that's where you establish the characters. That's where you make the reader care about the characters. And like I said before, if you can make your reader care about your characters, then you can pretty much take your reader on as long of a journey as you can possibly come up with. Because if your reader cares about your characters, and they care about the internal conflict, and it matters to them, they are going to be there for whatever you have in store for these characters. Okay, boom. Awesome questions. As always, I hope you got value out of my replies. If you would like to submit a question to Ask Abbie, you know what to do. Hit the join button below this video or go to patreon.com/Abbie Emmons. Get yourself inside the Facebook group and submit your questions there. Hashtag it Ask Abbie so that I see it. And perhaps next time I will be answering your question. Smash that like button if you liked this video, and be sure to subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, because I post writing videos every single Wednesday and I would love to have you here in the community. Until next week, my friend, rock on. Yeah, I see that from a lot of writers who are it's their first time editing or their first time sending a book to an editor, and the preparation of that process seems so emotionally draining for them.
Daunting.
So daunting.
Task.
Yeah, exactly. But it